You ever hear a prison gate slam so hard it sounds like a warning to the world? That's how it started for me. 3 years gone, 3 years where everybody figured I'd either fade away or get buried by everything I lost. But I'll tell you what, the second I walked out moving slow like a man who's already chosen which ghosts he's dragging with him, nobody dared meet my eyes. Not even the guard who whispered, "Someone's about to meet the storm she built." And hell, I hadn't even made it 10 feet before a battered old pickup came screaming up the drive, brakes squealing, and Frankie, my oldest friend, leaned out hollering, "Your mansion's gone, man. Sold to some yoga influencer." Karen Matthews ran the HOA like a mob boss and flipped it while you were locked up. You'd think that'd break me, right? But no, I just smiled, cold quiet, and you could see everybody get nervous. That was the moment I swear you could feel the whole town start holding its breath like the countdown just began and nobody knew it yet. I slid into Frankie's truck, took one last look at the barbed wire, and let the town blur by as we drove. Everything looked smaller, older, meaner, except for this anger inside me, sharp as a knife after years of waiting. Frankie tried to fill the silence, telling me how he'd tried to keep things together, how everyone knew the charges were cooked up by a rival who wanted me out, but that didn't stop Karen. While I was inside, Karen had the board declare my mansion abandoned just because I missed a dozen meetings, and she blasted that all over her Facebook fiefdom, the kind of rules speech that let her play dictator while nobody pushed back. She didn't just sell the place. She buried me in fake fines, tripled the value, seized the house, and spun it like she was doing the world a favor. You know how small towns are. Nobody ever asks who actually profits, just who gets punished. I barely heard Frankie just watch those perfect lawns roll by, remembering how I'd protected this neighborhood, how everybody pretended not to notice what I did, or who I had to keep in line. But now I had to ask, what made this Karen so bold, thinking she could mess with a man known for making problems disappear quietly? We hit the last corner and there it was, my old house. Painted a god-awful pastel pink, fairy lights everywhere, a giant banner for meditation retreats flapping on the lawn. A crowd of influencers twirling some guy in a glitter jacket, screeching about limited-time mindful breathing discounts. I'll be honest, it was almost funny if it wasn't so personal. Frankie jammed on the brakes right as the gate swung open, and out came Karen Matthews herself, sunglasses big as hubcaps, holding her clipboard like it was a weapon. She strutted up, tapped on the window, and told us this was a tranquility zone now, and we needed to leave. I rolled down the glass slow just to see her flinch, and she recovered fast, sneering that she remembered me, that criminals weren't welcome, that I ought to move on and better myself. I stepped out, and let me tell you, the influencer stopped twirling real quick. You could hear a pin drop. Karen tried to stay cocky, waving her paperwork, promising her legal team would crush me if I tried anything. I just walked past her, didn't say a word. Sometimes silence is worse than anything. I put my hand on the new wall, soft, pink, smooth, completely wrong, like saying hello to an old friend. Someone else dressed up as a joke. Some vlogger kid whispered, "Who's that?" Frankie leaned in. "That's the real owner." A ripple shot through the crowd. Karen came storming over, screaming that I had no rights, that the new owner would be here any minute to film her big reveal. I finally looked at her and said, "You made one mistake. It wasn't selling my house. It was assuming I'd let it go quietly." She laughed, a little too nervous, tried to threaten cops, said the HOA had ties. I told her I didn't need threats. I needed truth. I asked Frankie for the envelope I left him years back. He pulled it from the truck. Everyone thinking it's legal papers, but it looked heavier than that. Karen demanded to see it. "You will," I told her, "tomorrow morning." I turned back to the truck, left her yelling after me. "That all you got? I'll stand my ground." And I just said, "Get ready. Tomorrow changes everything." We drove out of the neighborhood, the silence crackling. Frankie was scared to even look at the envelope. "You really want to open that?" he asked. "You know what it means." I didn't answer right away, just watched the warehouse district roll by, old businesses sleeping everything the same except for one coffee shop, now painted teal, advertising ethically sourced espresso flights. I actually laughed first time in 3 years. Frankie relaxed a little at that. We parked behind a hardware store, just us, the envelope, and years of secrets. I told Frankie Karen thinks she won, but she stepped into a trap that was never meant for her. Frankie didn't get it. How'd she even get the house if my name was untouchable? That's when I told him I never put the house solely under my name. It was a trust 2 owners' power of attorney only activated on my release. 3 years away, the paperwork got fuzzy and Karen weaponized the technicalities. I opened the envelope. Frankie paled. The signature at the bottom belonged to a man the town thought dead 10 years ago, a name that could silence a courtroom. The mansion was never just mine. Karen sold a house that still belonged to someone nobody wanted to cross. Frankie cursed. You gonna contact the old crew? I shook my head. Not yet. First, I need information. Because Karen hadn't just sold the house, she'd faked violations, held secret meetings, replaced board members, forged documents. Frankie said there were rumors, 3 board members gone while I was inside, 2 moved away right after fighting her. I tucked the documents back, stepped out right into a camera's gaze. Security everywhere. If those tapes caught anything, I wanted them. Frankie warned me the new tenant was a paranoid tech startup. Alarm sensors. I said, some skills don't rust. We broke in quiet, blue lights, humming servers, metallic dust in the air. Found the server rack, pulled up the feeds footage of Karen meeting with a shady real estate agent, passing folders, taking envelopes, downloaded everything, erased our tracks, slipped out as a drone buzzed overhead. Back in the truck, Frankie asked, "What now?" I said this was bigger than a house. Karen was either dumb or someone else's pawn. Tomorrow I'd go to the influencer not to threaten, but to reclaim what was mine. If she didn't play ball, I had ways. Legal effective. Frankie asked if I wanted backup. No, I said this part's on me. Next morning, the neighborhood was weirdly quiet. Pastel pink paint yoga mats, influencers everywhere. Frankie sipped his coffee, muttering about the sunrise meditation crowd. I walked toward my house, people staring. One influencer toppled out of a headstand, everyone whispering about the real owner back from prison. The new owner, Meadow, came out sparkly robe, all performance, greeted me with a showy spin, then froze. She tried to play cheerful, introduced herself, said she hoped things could be peaceful. I let her talk, then told her straight up that her proper channels were tainted by fraud, forged violations, and a corrupt agent. Meadow blinked. Processed, realized she'd bought a mess. She wasn't malicious, just naive. I told her I didn't want her business ruined, just 1 hour in the house to retrieve personal items and verify records. She agreed with the condition. I didn't scare her people. Inside, the place reeked of essential oils and faint cigar smoke, my life rewritten. I found the secret compartment behind the bookshelf, opened the safe, old files, a flash drive, a second envelope like the first. Meadow peeked, asked about the hidden safe. I just looked at her. She waved it off. I checked every room. Karen had filled the place with paperwork violations supposedly committed while I was in prison. Unmowed lawns, aggressive lighting fixtures, all of it fabricated. Meadow apologized. I told her Karen preys on anyone who believes paperwork can't lie. She's about to learn otherwise. Suddenly, Karen herself barged in, binder like a shield, sunglasses high. She accused Meadow of breaking protocol, threatened police. I told her the truth. I had proof of her illegal seizure, forged violations, conspiracy. She bluffed, said she had emergency powers, could have me dragged out. I smiled, told her those amendments would collapse when the real document surfaced. She stormed out, vowing to return with cops. Meadow panicked, but I promised her she wouldn't lose her investment. Only Karen would face consequences. As I walked back to the truck, Frankie saw my face and knew we'd crossed into something way deeper than a simple revenge. We drove out to an abandoned racetrack, only place private enough for what came next. I opened the box, showed Frankie the real evidence documents tying Karen realtors, politicians to a massive property, flipping scheme, manufactured violations, inflated fines, manipulated votes. Before I went to prison, I'd started gathering proof, but they'd had me locked up to clear the way. Frankie wondered if Karen was a mastermind or just a pawn. Didn't matter, she fit their pattern and would lead us to the top. I showed Frankie footage from my mansion's hidden cameras. Karen, the agent, 2 other men, late-night break-ins, talking about seizing more homes, forcing a rezoning plan through the council. Bigger than just me. I told Frankie time to panic, Karen, force her to make mistakes, isolate her. He reminded me she was calling law enforcement. Good, I said. Let them see the evidence. By the time we got back, Karen was already at the neighborhood gate with the cops pointing at me like a tourist guide from hell. She was waving, yelling about trespassing, but the officers saw my calm and took it seriously. I handed over the documents, layered trust co-owner's signature, everything. Officer Ramirez checked the city records, verified the signatures, looked at Karen and told her the trust superseded the HOA. Karen blustered, said the property was abandoned, but I explained the clauses. Ramirez caught her. She admitted never reading the trust. Bad move. Then I handed over the flash drive footage of Karen breaking in with her cronies. Ramirez's face changed fast. Karen started to unravel, tried to rally Meadow. But Meadow called her out on a live stream. The cops froze. All HOA activity demanded Karen's emergency amendment. Half the signatures were missing or photocopied. Karen was caught forging documents. Influencers filmed every second, like it was a reality show finale. She tried to run, tripped over a giant garden gnome, flailed, got stopped by the cops. As they put her in a cruiser, she screamed she wouldn't go down alone, that her allies were coming. That's when I realized she was just the messenger. Frankie asked if the war was over. I looked at the mansion, the influencers, the trembling mess under the surface, and said, "This hasn't even started." Karen was the opening act. The real storm was behind her. That evening, as dusk settled, we headed for the outskirts, past the abandoned sheds where old deals were made. I opened the box again, checked the documents. Next step, prove the amendment was forged. We went to Wallace Reed, an old city clerk, master, forger for hire. He confirmed its signatures traced one from a member who'd left years ago, pen pressure all wrong. He pointed out an insignia, a private development firm infamous for shady deals tied to the same network I'd fought before. Back in the truck, Frankie realized the firm was using Karen to seize the whole neighborhood. My jail time was no accident. As we drove in a black SUV, blocked the road windows dark as obsidian. A man in a charcoal suit stepped out, voice like silk over razor blades, introduced himself as an associate. He said Karen was enthusiastic but sloppy. Now they'd deal directly. If I didn't cooperate, they'd reclaim my property by other means. I told him I didn't lose wars, I just postponed victories. He chuckled, gave me 48 hours and left. Frankie barely slept that night. I stayed up, documents spread out, connecting the dots. The firm's plan, eco-friendly redevelopment, clear out homeowners with fines, force sales pressure, rezoning. Karen was just their smokescreen. We used the night as cover, slipped into the firm's office in the industrial district, found zoning plans labeling Meadow's house, my house, and others for priority acquisition. I photographed it all. Overheard men in suits discussing framing Meadow for fraud. She'd be the distraction while they kept grabbing land. I knew what had to come next. The co-owner, the man everyone believed dead. We tracked him to a cabin deep in the woods. I knocked once he opened eyes, sharp voice gravelly. Why do the dead get visitors? I told him land thieves were tearing down what he built. He studied the evidence, smiled slow. He'd settle old scores, mobilize networks, but I'd handle the front lines. At dawn, the town looked normal, but everyone felt the tension. Meadow ran up, shaking. She'd been smeared online, accused of buying stolen property, running scams. I told her it was the firm they wanted, a scandal, a distraction. A city inspector showed up, tried to cite Meadow for unauthorized gatherings, but I showed him the forged amendments. He backed down, rattled. The firm was probing, testing us. We took our proof to Hale, the state investigator who'd already reopened my case. I gave him everything, footage, documents, zoning plans. Hale promised an emergency inquiry, warned me to watch my back. Back home, Meadow found her retreat spray-painted with threats. Classic firm tactics, isolate, smear, overwhelm. I told her, shut down, play the victim. The black SUV rolled up again, same stranger handing me an envelope with a photo of Meadows Mansion, a red X. And 48 hours ends tonight. No more warnings. This was the schedule. Night fell heavy. I found a broken drone near the house surveillance. We rushed to the HOA office, uncovered manipulated security logs designed to make Meadow look like the problem. I recorded proof, wiped the system, restored it. Just then Frankie radioed 3 black SUVs coming in. I ran to Meadows, told everyone to lock down. The stranger stepped out, gloves on, men behind him with cases. "Time's up," he said, and flashed a remote detonator. They were planning to stage a small explosion for us, a condemnation. I warned him, "Push that button and everything burns." He shrugged. I tossed a disc flashbang, blinded them. Frankie barreled in. Chaos exploded. I grabbed the remote, disabled it, fought off a goon. Meadows' followers spilled out screaming, giving us cover. The stranger retreated, threatening, "This'll cost you more than a house." I told him tonight was just the start. Now you'd think that would be the end, but we both knew it wasn't. I gathered every document, every video, and we drove straight to the firm's headquarters, the fortress. Used the co-owner's badge, walked in like I owned the place. Confronted the whole board, laid out every piece of evidence. They tried to bluster, tried to threaten. I told them it was too late. State investigators were on them assets, about to freeze media on the way. Their fixer tried to attack me. I pinned him, reminded him tonight he almost blew up a house. "You crossed the wrong man," I said, "and the dead don't give warnings. Only consequences." By sunrise, news vans rolled in, cops everywhere. Karen dragged out again, screaming that it was all a setup. The firm collapsed, assets seized, board members under arrest. Meadow cleared, my mansion restored. Frankie laughing for the first time in years. I walked up the driveway, ridiculous pink paint still shining, and promised myself I'd rebuild, not because I needed it, but because they tried to take it. So you tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Ever had someone try to wipe out everything you built just because they thought you wouldn't fight back? Drop your wildest story in the comments. And if you want to see what real justice looks like when a town messes with the wrong guy, stick around. This isn't just about houses or HOAs or pastel paint. It's about knowing when to stand your ground and making sure everyone remembers exactly why you did.